Welcome to Patchwork Pod. My name is Elizabeth Palmer, and my guest today is Adrien Palmer. I'm introducing you.
You introduced? Okay, I wasn't sure.
My guest today is Adrien Palmer. He also happens to be my husband and my bandmate, lifelong creative partner, co-parent. We do a lot of things together.
It's true. It's true. I am a musician, a writer. Got 2 bands currently. Have been in 7, I think. Wow, that's a weird. I think accurate. Father, husband, great roommate. Working in education on behalf of kids because Narwhals and Waterfalls and so much of my life has been driven by the idea that first 5 years is incredibly important, and how you process what you remember from those first 5 years is also incredibly important. And wanting to express that for myself through The Last City, express what I wish I'd been given through Narwhals and Waterfalls, and in the meantime, in the background, just process it all and make the best of it. That's who Adrien Palmer currently is in this moment. And if you ask me again in 2 minutes, expect a different answer.
In the textbook Enneagram 4.
Yep. Ooh, I was not sure that I was going to make. It's good to have you on here. I have a few questions.
I think I just want to dive right into talking about the band stuff first, and then we'll see where the rest of the conversation goes.
Yes.
But the big
promo first.
The big thing is that we have a new song coming out, and we're really excited about it. And I think the song, when you originally wrote the lyrics, the song is called Oil and Water. You wrote it back in 2021, right? 2020. So even better.
Yep.
So 2020, I don't know if y'all remember, it was a very tricky time for different reasons. And and it felt really relevant then. And I think
and now it's not 4 years later.
4 years later.
Archive it, call it a day.
No, it feels so relevant again. And so I want to know a little bit more about when you were writing it, what your headspace was, what the inspiration was, and kind of how it all came about.
All right. See if we can be concise here, maybe. Well, as I think you're aware, there was this pandemic. Not a big deal. Didn't really disrupt too much, but some people, it really, really threw them off a little bit. And what they may not know is how much work we put into our first house that we bought 2 years earlier. So there was this interesting distance almost where, like, when the pandemic hit, we got trapped at home. Oh no, if only we'd taken time but we did take time to get comfortable, to make it feel like home, to make it a space we didn't mind spending a bunch of time in. And what do you know? Universe throws you a wild card. So when 2020 hit, there was definitely a different experience for a lot of people who had been putting off maybe plans of doing this and that. And, it's a different, it catches you where you are. And we happened to be in a really good spot when it happened. So I was in a much better headspace to be a bit more level-headed and see what was happening and be grateful in the midst of the chaos, but also be pretty aware of the struggle of other people. And so this came on the tail end of a very awkward and difficult relationship ending conversation that I had with a friend of mine who, if I'd been more aware, been more, more empathetic, I guess, put myself in their shoes better, I would have realized that our experience going into the pandemic was very different. So these things at a national level that to me almost felt distant and felt like I'll be fine, I've been good for the past 4 years, we'll be good. All of a sudden, to someone who was already on the edge, You throw in a pandemic, then you throw in this. Whew, that's a different headspace. That's not a headspace where you can have the kind of conversation that I was able to have because I was in a better place. So after that, I'm sitting there one day, grab the guitar, and I'm just thinking, like, can I capture this weird feeling that I have right now in this moment? Like, how can I grab the guitar? I said, I want to play a song that feels good to play. Like, you know this, when you play an instrument, there's certain songs that just feel, the movements are good. It just feels right. So I sat down with the guitar with no other agenda than to write a guitar part that felt good to play, felt good to sing, and get the most poignant presence lyrics about the situation, both in that weird microcosm, but also that being a microcosm of this weird space where you keep hearing unprecedented, once in 100 years, centuries level bleh, and going, well, this is actually kind of real. Like, it's actually happening. That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
And that's where the song kind of came out of all of that.
Do you have a favorite line from the song?
It is probably the first line of the song. If any Last City fans out there, you know that we don't have the most quotable lyrics. They get dense. That is on me, working on it. So I started this song with the entire goal of like channeling more of a Damien Rice type, who can say something so mundane about cold water. Like, it can be such a mundane thing, and yet the way he houses it, there's so much meaning behind the words that the words themselves don't need to be as complicated as I sometimes lean. So pull the car around, like the idea of just like, all right, whew, that party went downhill quick. Let's just get the car and get out of here. Like, that's kind of the feeling that I know a lot of people had about America. But rather than this whole existential, it's more like, all right, well, pull the car around. Here, valet, thank you. Here's a good tip. Hope you get home safe. That got weird. And so that's kind of where it started, and then got more complicated as I do near the end. But
Sure.
that line.
Do you feel like, is there any line that you would write differently now versus 2020?
I wish there's probably one word I would change. When it hits the bridge, it says, "Oh, believer, you've lost your sense of adventure." Mm-hmm. This kind of ties into a general thing in my life that you can tell where someone is emotionally by how many questions they ask. When you're in fight or flight, when you're stressed, you're looking for certainty. You're trying to nail things down. So this idea of you've lost your sense of adventure, like, where's that part of you that always had questions, was always curious, wasn't as worried, wasn't as bogged down with life? And I just wish there was a better word than believer, because so much of our music, of course, is pretty Christian leaning, we lean that way.
Yeah.
So I wish there was a word that didn't make it feel so religious, but was more about, hey, human being, hey, person who had dreams and grand ideas, you've lost your sense of adventure.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying you wish you had a better word, but you didn't have a better word. So it's not like you had something else to change it to. You just wish you had.
Yeah, I wish that word existed. English is so vast and yet so limited.
Yeah. You don't want to just throw in something random from another language.
I mean, it's not beyond it. We got it before.
Yeah. I want to know as well, like, what has your... Oh, how do I want to ask this? Do you feel like you have changed since then as a writer / creative, like after becoming a parent? Like, here's a better question. If you were to write that song now, how would you do it? Or would it be different?
Now I'm just going through the lyrics in my head. Well, I take that back. Well, I can't take it back. I do think the first line is my favorite, but the "I don't pray these days," another one of those just Damien Rice level, simple, like, I don't pray these days. to God or country. Like I love the simplicity of it. So maybe, I don't know, I might change that to, as I align, as many people have, prayer more with an intention and an attitude and an approach to the universe in some way like that. I wouldn't say, I might not say I don't pray these days. I might keep the line anyway because it sounds good. Definitely not above that. But just to, I don't know, reframe it where, it's more about going through the motions and actually meaning it. Because I feel like that's where I was then, but now that might be the only difference there, where so much feels like going through the motions. Because parenthood is very repetitive and also incredibly chaotic, and yet so routine. It's the absolute extremes of life at the same time. And so depending on the day, today I want to believe that someone up there's got my back. Tomorrow, nah, we're in this thing by ourselves. Born alone, you die alone.
We have a really beautiful book. I don't know if you actually read through it yet with Oliver, but it's called What is God Like? Mm-hmm. And I read through it with him occasionally, and I find myself tearing up a little bit. I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice to, have that again, even though it's very different from.
I mean, if she was still here, that's Rachel Held Evans, right?
Yeah.
She was still here. Shoot. Are we cursing on this podcast?
Yeah.
She was still here. She. Mom, Dad, she led me astray. She gave me permission.
That's how our marriage has always been. Mm-hmm. I've been the wayward.
Yeah. I have so few opinions. I just prefer to do what people want me to do around me.
Oh. What is God like? Somebody sent me a Bible, or the Bible for Normal People is putting out a children's storybook. And I'm actually kind of interested in getting it because I think he's getting old enough that we can start introducing stuff, having it be like Santa Claus.
Well, okay. Well, there's the question. Is it like Santa Claus? Is it like, what are you reframing from your own experience?
Read it the same way we read any good story.
Oh, careful which story you reference. The same way as
Cinderella. Just kidding. The same way we talk about Disney characters. Just kidding. Way
to zoom out there. Now make it smart.
I think talking about God a little bit metaphorically, but can a toddler even understand a metaphor at this point? I feel like for a toddler, everything is a metaphor. Yeah. So
to him, anime actually did say we could play Minecraft today.
He's in this fun stage, for context, that he, if he wants to do something, he will tell us that somebody else told him that we could do it. So this morning he wanted to play Minecraft, and he said anime said that we could play Minecraft. Sometimes he brings in other people's parents from school. Sometimes it's the other one of us that's not in the room.
Often it's that, yes.
Which is hilarious. I think one of the things that I can say about us is that we have been very good about being on the same page parenting-wise. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably one of the things I'm proudest of in just parenting is that we did a good job before having a kid of like talking shit about a lot of other people and their kids in the nicest way possible.
Empathetically. Yes. We've been there.
We have both worked with a lot of children, and so we would see other people's kids and be like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how we can mitigate this situation if we run into it.
Adventure, curiosity. Mm-hmm. We kept it when we needed it.
Yeah.
And now when it runs low, we still have that information.
We still have it ready to go. And there are so many times where I'm like, wow, this is still really different from what I thought it would be like. But because we had those conversations beforehand, a lot, we at least have a good basis to start
Well,
from.
maybe paint that picture then. I know the timeline there, but I mean, what were these conversations? What I'm trying to even recall. I know there was a
I
book we
don't think
went
there was
through.
anything super specific.
There was a book, right?
I had this thought earlier. I remember when we were engaged, we were so smug. We did one of those like newlyweds games with some good friends who are.
I wasn't sure if you were name dropping or not. Good call.
I don't think they'd care. But some good friends of ours who had been married they had 3 teenage kids at that point, had been working together and just like a really solid couple that we love and trust and admire. But we played the newlyweds game with them and we won. We had more correct answers between the two of us than they did about each other. And so we were just like, oh, we're going to kick ass at this marriage.
I mean, technically, haven't we so far?
And we did a pretty good job. But it's funny to me how we were like, not all of this knowledge that we have about each other is going to serve us so well. And really, it's more like it served us well in some situations. But I think there's other types of knowledge that we lacked at that point, like about attachment styles and stuff like that, that probably would have served us even better. But even with the parenting thing.
Even then though, we did that test about like family unity and all that.
Yeah.
And it didn't say, well, your attachment style is this or is that, but it did kind of paint the picture for like, well, your family's a bit more individualistic.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think until I like really understood it on an individual scale.
Yeah.
This dog is gonna knock over this cable.
I think more than anything, I feel like we had enough conversations with enough good questions that it wasn't like the idea of how we attach to each other in a relationship was a new idea. It was more like this lens brought the information we already had into focus. Well, okay. But we had the conversations. It wasn't like I wasn't blindsided when I found out my attachment style.
Oh,
I was like, yeah,
no way.
that makes sense. And the same thing for you. Like, I don't think you were like, what?
Yeah.
Who is this man? Like, no. Yeah, made all the sense in the world.
Yeah. One of the things we talked about as well that I'm curious your take now that I'm thinking about it. See, this is why I need a parking lot because we're going to hop around. So I think we both understand at this point that the tortured artist thing is not where it's not where it's at. But I want to know, like you've been there, you've been the tortured artist. You're in Enneagram 4. That's your thing. Do you still think you're a tortured artist? And do you think not being a tortured artist means you create differently? Or do you feel less creative if you're not a tortured artist?
Well, this is the struggle. I think you asked earlier about how I might write things differently now and what has changed creatively and all that. Now that I'm a parent, and that's one of those. There's definitely a lot of comedians, musicians who have a kid, and obviously you write what you know, but it's increasingly hard to find a unique take on parenting that doesn't get so in the weeds that you lose everybody.
Oh.
And even the next level down, being a parent, you get to see mortality play out ahead of you, and so force you to come to grip with your own and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's so many versions of this that have been done.
Yeah.
And when someone like Jason Isbell puts together an album post-parenthood, you kind of listen to that and go, yeah, you nailed it. No.
Now what am I
That's
going
a
to
wrap
do?
on parenting, yeah. Yeah. So I honestly don't know. I know that much like Fall Out Boy's music eventually, like, hey, P. Wentz, you're a multi-millionaire. We've read your... Like, I want to feel like, oh, I didn't get the girl at the party, but is that really you anymore? Like, it starts to feel inauthentic.
Yeah.
And for someone who hasn't been in church in quite a while, and like this whole, I'm still struggling with her. Like, I mean, it's it's definitely a area of passion over here, but I'm not struggling with it. It's not this, it's not that. There's so many themes in our music in the past that it was very true then and nailed it. What else do I say about that topic? So there is a weird struggle at this moment to not just go, isn't parenthood great? I mean, I've got Narwhals and Waterfalls. Any kid music I want to get out there, there's a great avenue for it, and I've got to do that. That's another thing to be incredibly grateful for. But it has been a struggle between not just sleep deprivation, but many other factors since he was born, where the writing just doesn't come as easily. Finding that voice again it's weird. I wish, I don't know. What is it? As an instrumentalist primarily, what do you like? I'm sure there's moments where you get asked to solo over a song and you feel bored with what you're playing, even though the people are loving it. What do you do in those moments to kind of go, well, how do I reinvent this instrument for myself so it is expressive as things are now, not just technically accurate or blah, blah, blah. So what do you do in those situations?
Well, right now, I mean, I enjoy a nice solo if it's a song that I am familiar with. But I do still feel really nervous. Like I've been in situations in the past year where I've gotten to collaborate with other musicians and they've gone around and done a solo thing and have been incredible. And I'm like, whoa, I have not been practicing enough for this situation. And so one of the things I would love to do this year, if I can get out of my own head and do it, is to develop more of, to just get back into practicing, but practicing literally scales and different types of like jazz scales and arpeggios and like practicing improvisation so that in those moments I'm ready to go. Because I think part of it for me is that I haven't been practicing consistently for those kinds of situations. And so I'm just not confident and I don't have the theory to back it up. So I wonder, if writing is similar in that way where you have to like practice. Well, and I've been dabbling with the idea of like doing some more drawing and stuff and looking at prompts for just drawing it. It's like you got to just do it every day and be terrible at it. But one of the things that you made me think of as you were talking, it's I have heard about stress, that some people live in stress so long they become like high functioning stress balls, and suddenly if that stress gets removed from their life, they don't know how to function anymore, because that stress itself is like coffee. It's like just a constant drip of cortisol that's going to keep you going. So I wonder if you are so used to all of your creativity coming from a place of, processing deep emotional trauma or religious stuff or whatever, like if you're happy, then it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What do I do? So it's like you almost have to learn how to do those things over again.
Yeah, that's a fairly accurate depiction of it. I mean, as you know, there's definitely a fight or flights base level for this guy that is unsustainable and is changing because of that guy pointing at the baby monitor, by the way.
Yeah, I have no idea where he is. Being a father has changed where that base level is.
No.
Or it's not changed that base. Okay.
It's made me hold myself accountable for managing that better. Because I know that if I'm just around him and I'm stressed out, he's taking that in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're your own person. You've got solid boundaries. If I'm stressed and I just go in a different room, I think you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Not so much with him. He needs me to be there and be able to help him regulate. So it's a great impetus to grow. It doesn't force you to grow.
No.
But having a child is like just a buffet of like, all right, here's all the ways you can use this season of life, this liminal space to be a better person. And I'm trying to choose to do a lot of that. And a lot of that has meant, to the original question, like rethinking creativity and the headspace that I create from Narwhals and Waterfalls has been actually more fun on this side because there is just a simple innocence that I can put in a kid's song that I rarely, yes, never happened in the song I wrote for myself.
Yeah.
There's always a sarcastic undertone. Even the most happy songs are easy, a little bit sarcastic and tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
So figuring out how to do that, how to actually be, I've been vulnerable, but embrace innocence, happiness. I have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah.
And maybe I just talked myself into what I need to do for my next project. Push things that way.
There's definitely a trend in, I mean, maybe it's always happened in certain genres of music, but I remember as a teenager, the emo stuff and like some of the more hardcore stuff was so much like, here's my heart just like pulled out of my chest and just cut open on the table in front of you people. Like from the lyrics perspective, that was like the thing to do. And I wonder if that in itself is a form of armor. Like if I just throw everything out there on the table, then I don't have to explain myself to anybody. I don't have to change myself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the insult yourself before someone else gets to it. Like it's a lot of that. And it's a comfortable space to be in. No one can come at you. Like they may not connect to it. That's fine. But, this wasn't for you. This is for me. It's a very easy way out of that. But it's kind of ironic. I love the new Linkin Park album. But I think having, unfortunately, obviously Chester is just the best. But the new lady, Emily, is her name Emily Anderson? I can't remember.
You can fact check it right now if you want.
I mean, if you feel the urge, whatever. I know it's Emily, but she definitely harkens back to that same feeling you were talking about, just heart on your sleeve. I don't know how much even her gender plays in that.
Armstrong.
Emily Armstrong. Oh, no, yeah. Okay. But, yeah, there's something, like, much more raw that probably if Linkin Park had kept going the way it was, like, it might have gotten into that weird phase of, like, well, this feels stagnant almost. This doesn't feel like where you are. But so she kind of breathed some new life into it, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll see how long that goes. But and of course, just reliving the old stuff is great. But anyway.
Yeah, but also I think fans will get to a point where they're like, a lot of fans say, well, I saw a meme about this the other day where it's like, I want the exact same song written differently, but gives me the same feeling, and I want to just hear it for hours. And I think a lot of people kind of cater to that when you have fans who are like, I started listening to you for this reason. And so it becomes so much easier to just keep producing the same kind of music, even though it might creatively stifle you after a while. It's like, okay, I've finished that thing, and now I'm ready to grow and move on to the next thing. And the fans are like, no. We don't have that problem because our fans just love everything we do. Also, I think if we had, it sounded so arrogant. What I meant it a little bit tongue in cheek, that like we, at this point, don't have a huge following. And so the people that like our music and listen to our music are people who like us and care about us. And so they're interested in seeing those changes and those journeys. But I think the more people that you amass as a following, unless I think maybe it's like when you're small and indie, you can just make each album be different. And then once you grow a little bit, you have to make everything the same. But then if you hit stratosphere level like Taylor Swift or Beyonce, then you can do whatever you want and it doesn't matter.
I think you swapped those last two levels there. I think you swapped them.
What?
I think you have to get to a certain point where you prove that you can switch genres, you can switch it up. But then you can get so big, like a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift, which I even feel weird putting it in the same category. Beyonce's new album,
I just mean as
very
far as
different
number of fans.
Well, yeah, number of fans, notoriety, all that. But I feel like Taylor Swift is like she hadn't changed. It's slightly more mature than I'm just a girl. But it's a little bit different.
She went from country to pop to
the production has changed. That's all that changed. Sorry, Taylor fans. I love Taylor Swift.
Swifties.
I have listened to every album she put out.
He's listened to more than I have.
Yeah, way more. I've taught guitar to way too many young teen girls at various private lessons and studios I've worked at where everyone wants to learn every Taylor Swift song. So I know pretty much every song off of 1989. Ugh, so well. And if you break it down to just the guitar and the piano.
Sure.
Tortured poets.
Sure. I should have had a better example. But Beyonce was a good example.
But you're right, though. Like, Beyonce is able to do that at this level. But I think you have to prove that you can evolve or you never reach the stratosphere. Unless the thing you put out the first time was just unbelievably good.
Yeah.
But that also is the flash in the pan effect.
I feel like Chappell Roan could do, she became so big so fast, she could do something completely different the next album and people would be okay with it. But
and Lady Gaga, same idea. She can, I'm going to do this thing with what Tony Danza was?
Yeah. Oh. No, I don't think, not Tony Danza. Yep.
Shoot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can see his face.
Mm-hmm. Same. Live fact checking.
This is fine.
You need that producer over there.
Tony.
To be like, I believe you, Mint.
Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett did that beautiful.
Bennett, yes. Face to face. Cheek
to cheek.
There it is.
Face to face is a very different kind of dance. I guess technically cheek to cheek is still face to face.
I mean, yes.
But
yeah,
it has a different connotation.
Yeah. Well, I got most of that right.
Tony, faces, Lady Gaga.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
But all that to say, I do feel like you have to. I would love to. I would love to live in a world. I've often wished I was more of in the John Mayer realm of things, where you are. Every album he does is its own little package deal. Mm-hmm. Because he's trying a different this, a different that, putting himself in a different situation.
Yeah.
And I would love to live that life. I would love to have the level of fans where it's all right, we love that. We'll see you in a year. What else you got? Yeah. And there is that pressure to change and grow. And I think that's how most people actually don't go to the stratosphere. They just burn out because they keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the reasons I said Taylor Swift is even though her music has been pretty much the same, if she were to come out with an album that was completely different, I think she would still, be top chart. I think she has enough true rabid fans who would just listen to her no matter what.
Basically, unfortunately, she's a terrible example, mainly because most of the people who listen to her music at this point, the quality is not the thing they're going for. Right. They want to see Taylor. The same reason I see Fast and the Furious movies. I do not care about the quality. I want to see cars in space.
Oh. What? You're in it for Bruce?
For Bruce.
Willis? Isn't it Bruce Willis?
Wow. At least I got the first name right.
It's not Bruce Willis?
In Fast and the Furious?
Who's the bald guy?
Vin Diesel.
What?
What did you think I was talking about?
I thought
Die Hard?
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Oh no, you found my weak spot.
Bruce Willis. Interesting.
Interesting.
Which one's Percival? He's bald, right?
He is bald, but he is. I don't think he's ever been in a Fast and Furious movie.
Well, no, probably not. Oh, he's 69 years old.
Oh yeah, poor guy.
Oh yeah, Die Hard, Pulp Fiction, Armageddon. Oh, I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to Office Ladies, and they were talking about Armageddon, and that's why his name is in my brain.
Fair.
Anyway, Office Ladies podcast. If you would like to sponsor me, hit me up. Big fan of your pod. I am super curious to see. So I guess I'll just soft launch this into the universe. We are thinking about moving in a year or so to the East Coast. Everybody knows.
It's real now.
I feel like if both our parents know at this point, it's like, well, it's okay.
That is true. We did check all the boxes.
So if we move to, we're looking at North Carolina because it's close to family. And also the area that we're looking at is like close to Asheville, close to Charlotte. Gives us that cool musician life without the price of the Asheville life. And so I'm very interested to see what being in a new setting does for both of us and for music and our creativity in general, because I know that we're both kind of set and setting people where it's like if you can shake things up, you can find some new inspiration.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to find more ways to recreate that feeling without moving across the country. But until then,
I mean, it's worked so far.
yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting considering, as Edie, you were saying, like, new music, new this. Oh, this is our new single coming out that's 4 years old. And then thinking about the last two singles are over a decade old each.
We do love to rework an old song.
Yeah. We love to actually find the people who can get it right. Without Lucas, neither one of those would have happened. Thank you, Lucas. And the new one. Oh, man, the layers he added to that.
Yeah.
We're done from here. But once we get this new album out, a lot of reworked or finally, a lot of songs in my life get to about 94% done. And then I don't have the skill in the studio to put all the parts together and arrange it the way I see it in my head. So it ends up shelved for something that got to the finish line quicker. So it's very easy to go back and just push the last 5%. But it would be interesting to even take some of those songs in the future, push to do new stuff in North Carolina, do as much as we can there. But then also, I mean, if we played enough live shows, that's the other cool thing. Just throw in like a song that's pretty old that we never played really, kind of fell off, and just see how this feels now. Does this feel current? Does this feel accurate? And then if it doesn't, back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You're going to have to take all your slurs out of your music.
My slurs?
Yeah. Trying to make a joke about your music not aging well. It's full of slurs.
You know me.
Yeah.
I love saying all those words we can't say anymore.
For example,
I'm not doing it. I guess from like a nerdy musical perspective, a slur is also, it's a thing in music. So that could be taken multiple ways.
You really tied that together. Yeah. I have a degree too. And this is what we paid all that money for. This is what we paid all that money for.
We both have music degrees, and I'm really good at making videos now. Because I don't want to use the music degree. It's how
we ran the opposite way.
Yeah. I realized as I was, I changed majors twice. And I just got into progressively easier majors. I started in biology, and I was like, I sure don't want to take organic chemistry. And then I did SLP, and then I joined a band, and I was like, musician forever. Music for Life.
SLP meaning?
SLP being speech language pathology. I thought I will help. I wanted to work with deaf children, and I mean, it was all very vague at that point because I'd done a couple of trips overseas with my dad to Uganda. He did some.
This is S, right?
Yeah.
SLP?
Nailed it.
But also, SLP is not, it's not directly, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap with working with deaf kids. But when I was in Uganda with my dad, he's a scientist. And at the time, his main study was water quality. So he would work with people on these little islands to like test their water and then do little seminars on how to help their water make like basically telling them this is why you shouldn't drink water that's straight out of the lake where there's runoff from your open toilet situations. Yeah. And then they, you know, it's a big advocate for building a latrine because that just contains everything so much better. Anyway, the trips that I did, I got to meet and interact with just this really sweet little boy who was deaf. And the first time I went, he hadn't really had any education because there weren't any resources. The second time I went, somebody had found a sponsorship for him to go to a deaf school. And just the difference between those two, like he was already so sweet and smart, but then seeing how he was more engaged with the world and more excited about everything, I was like,
About how long ago was this?
inspired. I was in college, so
Okay.
15 years.
All right.
No, not 15. Yeah, 15, because we've been married for 13 years.
Yeah.
15 years ago. And now I'm like wondering what's happened to that kid. I almost said, if you're listening to this podcast, I can't say that because he's deaf. Get in touch. If you know.
Well, there's your push for the clip.
Before we dive back in, I would like for you to give me a 60-second commercial about you and where you are in your life currently.
Remember when I asked for the questions ahead of time? Yeah, that was good.
Where I am in life. More and more gratitude, but also more acceptance of a new phase of life. I'm grateful that my body is holding up. I'm grateful that I can still do all these things, but also painfully aware, double entendre meant, that beyond 35, it's maintenance. It's not just, oh, I'm going to put on some muscle. Like, no, you have to maintain and then put on muscle. It's changed. You got to keep up. So accepting the limits of what I can do, but also almost excited about letting go of some of the things I thought mattered so much. Very happy to be in a season of consolidation to prepare for expansion again. And I don't know what expansion means, but a season of consolidation as I try to parse through the ridiculous amount of input that my brain has and has had for quite a while, and just needs to take a moment to shed some of the... It was about to be a metaphor about dog shedding fur, but it just felt weird. So it's very much looking forward to a season of letting go of that which no longer serves me.
Tell me about all the bands you've been in. And then you can end it by talking about Narwhals and Waterfalls.
I don't know if I can remember all of them. So originally, Further Room, still on all the streaming platforms, by the way, Needful Things by Further Room. To this day, one of my favorite albums. I may be too close to it. But that's the band that we met in way back when. The first song I ever wrote where I was like, I think that might actually be a good song.
Yeah.
Track 2, An Empty Room. Check it out.
Do you feel comfortable talking about the origins of that?
I mean, it's more about you at this point than anything else. Like, I'm good talking about it.
Oh yeah, I'm happy with whatever.
Okay, cool. So,
Like I just want to know how did y'all? I don't remember how y'all decided to start this.
to start further room. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Sophomore year of high school, me and a good friend, Barrett Self, and another guy, Paul Haggard, we were all doing music in our own weird spaces. I was also writing music with my neighbor, Marcel Morphus. Marcel. And so me and Barrett and Paul started getting together because I wanted to be a rapper, and that was never going to be my path. Couldn't be the Black Jack Harlow. It's not meant to be my life. And so we started doing more just straight up music and songwriting. And that's where me and Barrett started writing together a lot more. And Paul kind of supported here and there, but me and Barrett writing on our own and talking through things and figuring out where we were with religion and life. And, you're 16, 17, it's the emo phase. So we started hanging out, and pretty much anytime we hung out, it would go from us sharing about our life to, can we make this a song? Like, what are we doing? And that kind of became the original impetus for it all. And I mean, you know how it is in high school.
You started at 16.
I think a little bit before that. Like, it was a minute. Like, there's a lot of tracks that Paul produced that Barrett would sing a chorus on, and then I would come in and add a verse and do this. And we were just figuring stuff out back then. Everything from straight up hip hop to parody tracks to screamo.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I heard y'all did some diss tracks.
Oh, we don't talk about that.
No,
we don't talk about that.
I heard it once and I was like, you guys were friends?
Not at that point.
Okay.
Not at that point.
No.
That was a rough season.
Expressed their love in a very different way.
That was not love. That was what it sounded like. Do you not know the song? Why not?
I'm sure I did at some point.
Well,
but
here's
it's
the
been a
context.
long
Great
relationship.
great for the pod here. So I went to college in Pennsylvania. And this is, again, after 15 to, I think it was 17, 18 when I went to college. We'd just been writing. It had been this thing. And we were like, I think we're on to something. Mm-hmm. But I chose to go to college in Pennsylvania. So the expectation would be that, of course, anytime when I'm back, we work on music. We made so much progress. Why wouldn't we? And I, unfortunately, made the decision to work at a summer camp. My first summer after freshman year of college, I literally finished my exams, hopped in my car, drove the 14 hours or the 12 hours back to South Carolina, woke up at 6 a.m. the next morning and went straight to Bethel, straight to summer camp to be a counselor. And back then we had 2 days off. Mm-hmm. That got worse the next year around. But that meant only 2 days a week to work on music, tops. And so we did.
And do your laundry and
exactly.
Anybody else.
I basically left camp. I went home and threw my clothes in the washing machine, went straight to their house, did music, came back, threw them in the dryer, slept, went back and did music. Like, it was all music every weekend as much as I could. But that wasn't enough.
No.
So we got to the end of that and they're like, I'm glad you had that experience. Like, you clearly camp made you happy. But I mean, this music thing though, right? And I was like, yeah, I got you. I feel you. Music. So then Christmas break, every day I have free. I'm at the house. I'm doing music. Spring break, I don't think I saw anyone besides them. And then the next summer decided to do camp again because it was so much fun. And they were like, what the hell? Like, you know how it was last summer, but we have so little time because you're 10 hours away. Yeah. And that is the origin of the diss track.
Okay.
Trying to put me in my place because I chose summer camp over.
Toast Jesus.
I wasn't going to say it that way. I think they saw it that way a little bit, just a little bit. But
it makes sense.
Yeah. So to them, I chose summer camp and God over music.
You were pretty hardcore.
Oh yeah, very hardcore. Won't deny that for a second. Very hardcore.
You were very hardcore.
It was rough.
What do you think your goals were at the time? Like, did y'all see yourselves as like Fall Out Boy or, making music, getting famous getting more chicks.
What
were your
I think my
goals
body
at that
wanted
point?
to interrupt that sentence. I don't know if we had any goals. Like, this is talk about things you wish you could go back in life and adjust. Like, I don't know. I feel like I can't judge anyone who's just like, I was just expressing myself. I just wanted to, figure some things out. That's pretty much what I was doing back then. And in a world where, so for context as well, Barrett, as far back as I can remember, agnostic, leaning atheist. Me, exact opposite. So the fact that we sat in a room and talked was, it feels extraordinary now. But we were very different people, very similar people with very different thoughts and beliefs. And the goal was for us to understand each other. If we could write a song together, if he could write a song understanding my side of things and vice versa, it's like, all right, I've represented your point, not just intellectually, but emotionally, musically. There's something really cool about hearing your thoughts, how you actually feel, seeing that someone else knows you well enough to write a song about that and make you feel what you already felt. But now they're just confirming that they have gotten themselves to the same place empathetically and can reflect that back. Like, obviously, therapists are great at mirroring and give and take. It's a whole different thing if you walked in the next week and your therapist wrote a song about your session and you were like, you nailed it. My mom never said it the way I needed to hear it. But that's what that relationship was at that point.
Yeah.
And so where else in life do you get that kind of thing typically? Like, it's rare.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was a goal.
Yeah.
Like, we're just really enjoying this moment of like, we get each other. We have a similar path we're going down as far as we can see, at least. And then, of course, then came the roadblocks. Then came this. But yeah, back then it was just making music is cathartic. It's fun. It's great. And hanging out.
Yeah.
As I was, telling Lucas about recording without her, Shimmer, and just being up till 3 a.m, drunk, upside down on the couch, trying to play a tap solo on the guitar, and then going, I got it. That was it. Play it back. Yep, that was it. Like, you don't get that many other places.
But when you're in your 30s with a toddler.
Yeah. But
how do we create that?
I will for sure. I'll be in your dad rock band in a moment. Just, there's something about that atmosphere when you actually can contribute to it and be a part of it. Oh, man, it's hard to beat.
Yeah.
That's what brought you in.
And so I joined playing violin, and then we had the ultimate betrayal of us dating. Yep. And I remember that leading up to us dating, I felt so coy. I was like, oh yeah, I don't like scary movies. And you're like, oh, maybe we can watch them together. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. But we've got to watch a chick flick after.
Are you channeling your inner Kristen Wiig right now? I don't know. It just feels like a little bit Kristen Wiig. Right.
And so we were just like, hang out and watch 2 movies back to back once a week as friends, quote unquote. And I remember,
you got me to watch Bennett like Beckham.
You were so
that's pretty
inept at flirting because neither of us really had that much experience just with dating and flirting.
I'm glad you said that on the record for the world to see. I'm glad you put that out.
I have a distinct memory of being like, well, I'm really good at massages, and you were like, oh, can I have a massage?
Is that how I sounded? Is that how I am in your memories?
Yeah.
At what point? How far between like meeting, hanging out, dating it? When did my voice change to a normal ass voice? How long was I like, oh?
This is just This is just how my brain recreates stories.
That's how
that
they
are
made the sounds
awkward.
for the villagers in Minecraft. Oh,
You hear that?
oh, it's that's the voice. Oh.
But there's the one night where we watched like 3 movies in a row, and they were all chick flicks. And then we had a pillow fight or something.
I don't know what.
I don't remember. And then
Yeah.
you just
Nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
you confessed your admiration for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, finally. And then a couple days later, you asked my parents if we could
Oh
court.
yeah. Oh yes.
And I
On
was
10-10-10.
20.
Yeah, 10-10-10.
We were babies. And now we have a baby.
Yeah.
14 years later. So, but that meant the downfall of Further Room.
It did.
Because you put hoes before bros. You put a hoe before bros. And it just didn't work out.
I did.
But, I mean, it's all worked out. Like, we like each other again, so
It's all worked out.
it's all fine.
Yes. So, to anyone out there who's just worried about that,
We're all friends.
yes, we're all friends.
BFFs.
We're in attendance at the wedding and looking forward to being closer to them.
You know.
Well, not Paul. Paul, you're dope. If you
you're out
happen
there.
to hear this, thanks for reconnecting. We're just
us up.
moving further to the East Coast, further from. It's just a geographical thing. Love you.
So that band broke up when we started dating, and we just had this hole in our lives. So we started Sacred Minor with
Pretty
a
much
couple of other
immediately.
friends. It's weird. That was
Oh, speaking of loss.
our rebound band.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't necessarily a rebound. It was 3/5 of Further Room.
It's a reconfiguration.
So yeah, that's where Big Mike was in the picture as the bass player for Further Room. Almost forgot about that part. A drummer at heart, but played bass because he just wanted to be part of what was happening, and it was dope. So that's when Sacred Minor started with good old George. I'm going through my I can't think of his last name.
Young?
Young. Yeah, I knew it was a common one again, much like the Bennett thing. Yeah. Tony Bennett. Yeah, I said the right one. Woo. Doubting myself. Losing touch with reality. Stay grounded. Stay grounded. So yeah, that was a fun little time, but also, as we've come to almost appreciate, but also it's also sad, where you know a thing is going to end at a certain point. It wasn't long after that band started, Sacred Minor, that we found out you were going to take a job in Japan. So, it already started with the hourglass flipped. But it was fun to hang out, write some tunes, play some shows.
Oh, that would be a fun song premise. Just something about going into something with the hourglass already running. Anyway, save it for later. So that was band number 2. Band number 3, Glass City. Band number 4, Camel Toe.
Yes. Camel Toe and the Dry Hops. Yes.
It's cover band in Japan with a few other expats.
Yeah. I worked over at the International YMCA, and a few of us played music.
Yeah,
And it was awesome.
it was so fun.
So much fun.
God, we were young.
I want to do it again. I want
So
to do
much
it
free
again.
time.
I was still very Christian at that point. Like to the book, to the letter.
He didn't used to cuss.
The first time I used profanity, I was 27 years old.
Wow.
Because if you can control your tongue, you can control the rest of your body. That was the theory.
I
put
thought it
forth by James.
was. I thought. Well, you told me
Yes.
that your dad said something
That
about.
was doubled down by my dad,
Oh,
but
sure.
that was based on
Okay,
the original premise from the Bible.
which is
But
about James.
he also, this is those weird things your parents say. This is the thing in the back of my head now, like making sure every word I say to Oliver, I make sure. Then again, I mean, what my dad said, I do not fault him at all. He was basically said, if you're using profanity, it's most likely because of a lack of creativity. Can't think of a more
Found the wound.
Yeah,
Not the wound,
a
but
more interesting way to express your feelings.
I mean, of all of the
And,
things he
like,
could have said,
honestly, like, damn, you know, like,
but
shit.
it's so funny because I don't think if you had talked to your dad at the time, he wouldn't have been like, yeah, you're an Enneagram 4, so this is what's going to get you. But like, of all the things he could have said to an Enneagram 4 to get you to do something,
Yeah.
like that is
It doesn't strike me as intentional in any way, but
perfect.
just, yeah, planted that seed. It grew. Oh, it grew.
So you had Camel Toe and the Dry Humps. That was 5.
That was
Wait, further
4.
down. Fake Reminder, Velocity, Camel Toe. Oh,
then
I'm not sure how we get to 7.
Narwhals and Waterfalls,
Narwhals and Waterfalls.
Backyard Astronomers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You're going chronologically, and I skipped.
And I say
Yes.
7 just kind of out of pocket.
Yeah.
I guess we're at 6. I
Yeah.
feel like there was something else, but I can't. If you want to count my solo journey in Japan as a Santa Claus for 3 years straight, we can go with that. But
Ooh.
maybe it was just 6.
The Last City and Narwhals and Waterfalls. And I mean, Narwhals and Waterfalls is pretty awesome as well.
I agreed.
I would say you arguably have more fans than The Last City.
Not arguably, definitively.
For sure has more fans than The Last City. How has
Kids are easy targets, you know?
yeah. And it's the parents who have the credit
Sorry,
cards. You gotta
Exactly. The parents have the
you gotta
credit
get the
cards.
parents drawn in. What do you feel like is do you have a creative process for that that's distinctive from the music you write for The Last City? Like, does it feel like a different person is writing those songs?
I tried to pause. You can cut that out.
I probably
Back to where I was. So there was a point when those two bands and Backyard Astronomers were all working at the same time, just to show my
your breath
my fandom
of talent.
of the one they call Marshall Mathers. Like, he has like 3 personas, it feels like, and that it felt like 3 different expressions of a core person. Where, like, there's the Eminem who is just technical, thinking about legacy, like doing all of that, just trying to make the best song possible. The Slim Shady who says whatever the hell he wants, and it's just pure ego, pure stream conscious. And there's Marshall Mathers who gets a bit more introspective and, you know, is kind of a bit more vulnerable. He's Marshall Mathers the third isn't the battle rapper. Like, Slim Shady steps in then. Marshall is when he's write a song for his daughter. Like, that's the... So it felt similar to that with the 3 different personas. Like, I don't believe everything I said in Backyard Astronomers, but I definitely thought it and thought, ooh, I want to say that. Mm-hmm. And that there's a weird freedom in that I never gave myself, obviously, for most of my existence. So that's why it was really fun and cathartic just to... I'm saying this because I thought it as I was writing, and I do not believe it. Probably won't want to own this, but there's a maturity I felt for myself in just doing it, saying it, putting it out there, not being ashamed of it. Just, ego is a part of who I am. And that's what my ego wanted to say at that point. So here we are. Yeah. And then there's the Narwhals and Waterfalls, which is obviously looking a lot more long-term. It's supposed to be infused with some wisdom. It's really trying to craft something that's meaningful, you know, into perpetuity. And then there's The Last City, which, at least for most of my experience writing as the lead singer of it, was supposed to capture how I'm feeling in individual moments as accurately as possible. Not trying to put the sheen on it and make it, I felt this in that moment, but then I thought about it and I realized, like, no, just capture that feeling in that moment, have it, and this is a song. Because typically, if you actually go deep enough into that original feeling, there's something universal and ongoing about it.
Right.
It's not always a flash in the pan. We rarely have flash in the pan emotions. It's usually something tied to something else. And even if this moment feels way bigger than it should be, it's because there's 8 other moments that fed into it, and this is just the outlet for it.
Right.
So that's what The Last City and that whole breakdown is to me and how I write.
Yeah.
We try to write.
Yeah. That makes sense. I remember you talking about before how one of your writing exercises was to feel something and then to take it to the most extreme version of that possible, which led to Willfully Human, which is our last album, with the idea of like different personas being different pieces of the songs. So I guess with Narwhals and Waterfalls, it's not like you're taking things to any extremes. You're
Not even a little bit. It's all the happiness and innocence that I wouldn't let myself have in The Last City. Like even the Backyard Astronomers, there's almost an innocence in just that thought was so dumb, but it made me giggle.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain innocence in that. And The Last City kind of was, as you said earlier, it's like the walled off, emo version of it. Well, I said it before, you can say, so you can't hurt me now.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of that. But also like I wanted to put some reflection on the feeling. But yeah, very different than the other 2 bands.
Yeah. And even thinking about like the walled off emo thing, one of the other things I thought of earlier and then forgot to say was that like it, in a lot of ways, if that is the kind of writing you're doing. Oh, I remember how I got here. I was talking to my therapist. About how we communicate differently, where like you're very comfortable with talking about like big, deep emotions. And I'm more like, I'll talk about it if I need to or if it serves a purpose. But that's not fun. It's not always fun for me to just like really wallow with it.
This is fun.
I do. But I think in some ways, but when I hear that kind of music as well, I'm like, oh, if you can make your music or your emotions sound shocking enough, then you don't have to actually deal with them or like work to make them better, because it's like people are just going to be like, oh my gosh, like how do I process this thing now, that they forget that they have to come back and address like, hey, let's how about we figure out how to grow out of this. And so I think as a person, you have grown out of that phase, which is great for both of us. I think I've grown as a person too, in different ways. So where we are is very different from where we were 10 years ago. So obviously our music's going to be different. But I think that kind of music is in its only a defense of like, I don't have to think of how to fix this if I can make it extreme enough, because then it's excuse me. Yeah, I don't have to fix this because or maybe it's like so extreme that it's unfixable. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's the other weird aspect of it, and why the audience tends to change, I think, as a band that captured a feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I think we all have those bands who, in our teens, late teens, early 20s, that they captured a feeling we had in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And most of what millennials do is revisit those moments and go, oh, man, I'm going to see My Chemical Romance in August because they captured a feeling I had, a season of my life that captured it so well. And they're a great example of someone who evolved. Mm-hmm. They could have just kept writing, I'm not okay, trust me. But then they went on to do this rock opera version for the Black Parade and then on to other projects. And
yeah,
it's easy to get caught there. It's also fun.
Yeah. Emery did that too, I think.
Oh yeah, Emery is another, and that's why.
Emery, if you want to come be on my podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another one. Like Emery, like there are some elements just because they're so niche that do feel very familiar regardless of the sound. But I mean, the one we were just playing a second ago, Rub Some Dirt on It. Like, it's talking about things that they weren't vulnerable or even in a way innocent enough to talk about earlier on, because you do have some walls up. Literally, a song called Walls. Like, how much more, overt does the reference need to be? And then now you get here, and so I guess you have the choice. A lot of what they talk about in that album is going back towards childhood. It's talking about things that probably have come up as they grew. And there was this raw emotion that they expressed, and the hurt that they took out in this relationship when they were in their 20s, that they wrote about a song about then. Now you can see that hurt was actually your own, and you projected it onto that person, and you caused them more hurt because of your own. So I guess I got to go even further back and address the original hurt, not just capture this moment. So I feel like there's a split there. You can either get lost one way or the other, but I think the path of growth is going even further back and dealing with all of it. And then, all right, now we're going to see where we are now. And I guess that's the struggle of the process I've been through, but also, again, the gratitude that I've had for having 3 different avenues to express where I'm at for that moment, for that song, that thought.
Yeah. What was the name of your backyard astronomers persona?
Persona? Omni?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like your gamer tag?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to read this. So I don't know if it's going to come up or not, but I think it's fun. As you were saying that, it reminded me of, something that's in the parking lot is a project that we tried to do. I guess it was like a blogging. I can't even remember what the purpose of it was, but I remembered it recently because I was going through our old Canva trying to figure out where we put all our Willfully Human stuff, and I saw this PDF that we put together for a project covering grown-ups that we wanted to do, just about, I guess,
Still all the domain.
being more childlike, being more, we had these projects over the years where we were like very ambitious, and I appreciate that. And I'd love to get back to that mindset.
Well, this is the thing I love about it. Like, I wish we actually did a project and we could actually devote all of our time to that.
Yeah.
And then we put it out there and see what happens. And then we do something else again.
Yeah.
And that's one of those that happened alongside 5 other things that we were also trying to.
Sure.
But also,
that would be a good crossover thing now between Narwhals and The Last City.
that was the whole goal of it. That was the whole goal.
Come here. He doesn't love you like I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to remember what the purpose of that was, and which of those things hold
Well, ironically, it kind of actually
up for you.
comes all the way back to one of the first questions you had in the podcast. Oh, believer, where's you've lost your sense of adventure.
Yeah.
The entire point of that podcast was to rediscover that sense of adventure and curiosity. Because
Is it going to be a podcast?
we recorded an episode. It was awful.
I do remember that a little bit.
You blocked it out.
I
for
don't
good reason.
remember any of the content, but I remember trying to record it.
I can hear the theme song in my mind right now. That was there. It was all pizzicato strings. It was beautiful.
I do remember it.
Yeah, it's coming back now, isn't it?
Whoa.
Yeah.
After I saw the thing, I was like, were we trying to blog, or
It was supposed to be a program. We wanted to build a community around people.
do a podcast
And it was
about
going to be an extension part of almost the artist way thing, where you would have people around you who were like, hey, let's all go do this thing that we haven't done. And we're all going to go down the slide at this playground down the road because we haven't done that since we were 10.
Yeah.
And it made us happy. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
Take the whole family.
Yeah.
That was the root of that idea that didn't make it that far. But I still think it would be. Like I said, I've kept the domain.
maybe a
Yeah, those
different
options.
version of it,
It's got
or
some,
something. It could have some legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got legs.
Wow.
I have to bring Paige in on that.
We have
I volunteered you for something else, Paige. Sorry.
Pages, the co-bandmate, the bandmate that's not co-bandmate, it's just bandmate. Pages, the Narwhals and Waterfalls
She's in the Brain Trust.
person. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's
For
the
general
other,
context there, yes.
other Narwhals and Waterfalls band person, bandmate. Not to be confused with me, because a lot of people see you with a brunette white lady and then they just assume we're the same person. I've been called Paige before, and she's been called It's a different flavor of brunette, but we're still both brunette. It's
All right.
or white with dark hair.
Fair.
So, okay, recovering brunette. Yeah. So anyway, whoa, I feel like we have more incompleted projects
Remember
than.
everything was broken?
Yeah, we have more. Well, we have a lot of barely finished projects and a lot of incomplete idea projects. But I feel like we have started more projects than other people have
Most likely.
even conceived of.
Like if there was anything in my life I'd
kinda
want to
cool.
do, it would just literally to be, rather than having 8 ideas at the same time,
Right.
and one of them and this one kind of gets absorbed, this one falls off. Like rather than that, just a year, 8 years straight, 8 projects that maybe could have had more put into this, but rather than, endlessly torturing ourselves over that, just do what you can for this season, put a bow on it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, again, full circle back to the whole idea of this album is so much different from this one because I was in this place, and maybe you shouldn't have to move halfway across the country to change your mindset, but also leaning into it, screw it. Whatever makes this project continue all the way to the end.
Yeah.
That's the missing piece of this pie that we have not quite figured out.
I wonder if being parents will help us with that, because I do feel like we are more stingy with our time in some ways. Like when we have creative time, we're like, okay, this is where we're going to get done. We're just going to go in and knock it out. We don't have as much time to play around and figure out things. And so in some ways I do, when I'm listening back to a song that we've already recorded, I'm like, actually, it would have been really cool to have maybe this thing added in. With Oil and Water, as I was listening through, I was thinking it would have been cool if we got some layers on that final chorus or something. There's things that I can hear in my head that I think would have been interesting.
You mean final chorus or the bridge?
Bridge, I don't know. We'd have to listen to it, and then I can tell you as we're listening through.
You mean there's His Days?
Maybe.
The Woolits are in the background.
Maybe. There's just different parts where as I'm singing along, I start to harmonize, and then I'm like, oh, having that other vocal part in this would have made it interesting. Yeah. But all about to say, I think we are more in the mindset of we're going to do it. We're just going to make it happen, and it's going to be good when we finish it, even if it's not the most optimal, perfect version that it could be, because good is better than perfect, or done is better than perfect. And we as multi-passionate creatives who really want to do high quality stuff and want to be unique and whatever, I think we have a hard time letting go of this is the final form. We want it to be the exact perfect thing, meet all the potential. And now that we're parents, we just can't do that. And that's probably a good thing.
It is absolutely a good thing. There are definitely days where I look at friends of ours who had kids really early. They didn't have the chance for self-discovery and all that we were afforded. Waiting, what was it? Did we actually wait 10 years?
Yes.
Yeah, waiting.
We would have waited longer.
Yeah, waiting at least
so
10 years.
I think yeah.
So there's a benefit.
But even that, we were we were just waiting for the perfect time to have a kid, and we ended up not having an unplanned. We ended up having an unplanned pregnancy, and it ended up working out great.
Oliver, we're not talking about you.
we ended up, we just, like we knew it could happen, but we weren't trying to have a kid at that point. And so, and I think for both of us, it was like, we could have more money saved. We could be in a different place. And all of those things were true. But what ended up happening was the best possible.
I agree. I agree in many ways.
I mean,
but
the outcome.
There's also a part of me that thinks, and who knows, if we'd be the people we are right now, if that was a 14-year-old sitting over there.
Absolutely. No. Totally get that. I'm
But
glad
on
we
the other side,
united.
that now we would be, that's weird to think about. In that world, we'd be 7 years out from empty nesting, which, consider that part now. Now, of course, that's the give and the take of it all. Like, if we were able to explore music the way we wanted to 7 years from now, after working, after figuring out, after having the water, remove the fine edges of the rock, and now we actually are streamlined and know what we want to do. Not that still can't happen.
Sure.
But just imagine that happening that much earlier in life. Like when you hit
But
40.
now it would be almost over. And that would be really sad.
Yeah.
I really like being a mom of a little kid.
Yeah, and you would have had enough of it by now, potentially.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you would have had your fill.
I would have been maybe.
Or
I'd be like,
they'd be popping out
round
their
2?
own. Yeah.
Oh. Whoa.
Well, that's a bit much. Yeah. Well, I mean, 18. Your brothers still would have had kids that we could have visited and could have gotten your fix there. We could have really staggered it and made it all work together. But anyway, you can lose yourself in the what if games, but I'm glad things landed where they did. And now we made a drummer. Like we can just use him for
Build your own band.
Yeah, and now you know what the tax codes. Now we can write stuff off and really make the most of this.
Oh, yeah. It's time to make him an employee of the business. Oh, I'm ready. What are your most influential albums? I want to know currently and just like overall in your life.
Oh, how many of each category? What's the normal answer?
This is one I just thought of while we were talking. So there's no normal.
Most influential album.
I prefer one of each. But if you have more, if you can't decide, that's fine.
Okay. Album I think the album that defined my high school experience, which was obviously big years there, would have to be. It's a tie. Sorry to give you a tie here.
It's okay.
But it's definitely a tie between Good Apollo on Burning Star 4 by Coheed and Cambria. And The Eminem Show.
Yeah.
I think if you were going a little bit further back into all of that and to make the trifecta there, it would also be Jesus Freak by DC Talk. Jesus Freak definitely had the most influence on my songwriting long term. It's good old CCM. It's your solid song structure with your bridge and your ad libs like that. But then the Eminem Show captured the feeling of where I was at that point. And then, Coheed and Cambria. Like, what do you even say about such a great album, such a great band? So yeah, those are the 3 biggest past influences. Currently, it's hard to say. The one I listen to the most at this point would be Rub Some Dirt on It by Emery. But I believe mainly just because it is, the way it affects me is pure testosterone. If I need to motivate myself to do something, I can play that for 30 seconds and I'm ready to go.
Dang. Sounds nice.
I think musically, though, the new Leon Bridges.
Interesting.
I keep revisiting it because, and I guess this really...
Is this a Texas
This is the one called Leon.
Okay.
I played some. I know I played it for you in the car.
Yeah.
I mentioned Laredo as a potential cover.
Yeah.
But in listening to him talk about it and listening to the album itself, he talks about going here and there and not knowing, like losing himself. And this album that got me popular was very pop, but my roots were R&B and soul, and I lost myself. And this album, he talks about actually finding the right balance, actually representing who he is. And so I listened to that as a fan of Bad News, as a fan of his other work. I just feel like his newest album, I keep coming back to it as an example of someone who found that balance, the same way that I want The Last City to, but I don't know if we will work on a project quick enough to represent balance in that era before things shift again.
Do you see yourself shifting genres? Like, if you were to think about what are your core genres or musical influences that you would write in?
I don't know. It might be a different approach than I've considered before. More than anything, there are aspects of musical composition that I found I like regardless of genre. There's anytime where you're not just strumming a chord or the piano and it's playing and sustaining, anytime where there's something much more rhythmic and syncopated, and even if you're the guitarist, like that's why I love Go Eat so much. They rarely are just sitting there strumming the guitar. Like there's someone's playing a part, there's this part where the vocal syncs up with this and the bass does this. That kind of leaving of space, like Hendrix did, like playing the melody along with it. So, like, again, there's no genre for that.
Yeah.
But I love that concept. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So more than anything, there's just ideas like that make me really excited right now. And I guess the more I create, the more opportunities I'll find to go, that thing I like from that song, maybe we can do it here. But it's hard to say that these things all align with a genre, because mainly they're things about performance and musicality, and that's more what I'm interested in at this point.
Yeah. I guess in some ways, like I was talking about improv earlier, creativity in some ways is about making sure that you have the building blocks available. And just like it's a muscle that you have to work to build those creative blocks within yourself so that they're ready to go and put together, whether it's like the technical aspect of, a scale or whatever, or a riff, or listening to things and thinking, okay, this could work somewhere. Okay. And just having those things tucked in the back of your head, ready to go at a moment's notice.
Yeah. I guess maybe that's a weird way to put it. I feel the most confident I have as a performer, as a singer, as a guitarist in my entire life. And so I don't know. I don't want to say sky's the limit, because it's no. Plenty of other limits besides that.
Sure.
But at the same time, I don't feel confined by any genre or defined by any genre at this point. I think I might actually be in the best place I've ever been in my life to create something that does feel unique and much more personalized.
That makes sense. You've done The Artist's Way several times, as have I. Less consistently. But I'm interested in what?
Right.
I'm just giving myself a little dig there.
I wasn't sure who the dig was at.
No, it wasn't me. I'm saying
I was about to say.
I have been less consistent at The Artist's Way than you have been.
But the way you worded it, the enunciation, it could have been taken either way. So I was going, was that a shot?
The shoe fit?
Was that a shot? What's she doing? Does she know how it really turned out?
Oh man, this is itchy. My little blood clot wound is itching. I've got to stop feeling it.
Oh,
Artist's Way.
I can't even tell what happened. It just bounced back so quickly.
We at different points have really enjoyed putting structure into our lives in different ways, like just outside structures. And I wonder how, does that still work for you? I'm trying to restructure.
Does structure still work?
Structure, like, does doing something like the Artist Way or 12-week year or 75 hard or soft. There's all these things that we like to do to help us to kind of refocus and maybe give us that sense of novelty that moving across the country might bring, but we can't do that all the time. And I was curious if you've got any of those going on right now, or if you are.
I mean, theoretically, I would love to restart the 12-week year starting today.
Oh, me too.
Well, there you go. So
It's a holiday.
you fucked up as well.
Yeah. I was like, this is not happening when the child is home. Not
Yeah, it's like we did it last year or 2023. Both you and I did hard 75 all the way through. And I remember hearing that part of the idea is just proving that you can do it.
Right.
And I think we're both confident, accurately, that if I could easily be like, if tomorrow I got cast in some movie and they said, all right, well, in 6 months you need to lose 10 pounds and put on and be down to 5% body fat. I have no doubt that if I need to do something extreme like that, I can do it. We did it last year.
Yeah.
Like it was difficult, but at the same time we did it. And I feel like we've both done that enough. But again, this kind of comes back to what I was talking about before. Like, is it serving me? Like, is it actually, or is doing 2 workouts a day actually taking me away from things I want to do instead? So it's more about doing those things than this program someone made up arbitrarily. And that's why I like the whole 12-week year and playing guitar for 30 minutes a day and all these other things seem to make more sense. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know if structure, I feel like what more people need is structured, unstructured time, protected, unstructured time. And so that's kind of where I'm at this point. Like, just getting better at leaving the phone in a different room when I do this thing.
Yeah.
Or much like the story behind Oil and Water. The biggest thing for me, which I haven't captured since or taken the time to do since, I don't know where you went that day, but I had the house to myself for 4 or 5 hours, and I decided I'm not watching a movie. I'm not going to catch up on that show. I'm going to sit here on the couch with this acoustic guitar until something happens. And that's how I got there. It took a while. And, it's not like it used to be where feelings were so immediate. And you just, she did what? And you just sit there. Like, that feeling is not where I pull from anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to just sit there and go, all right, well, I'm just going to make myself available.
Yeah.
And just play. So the unstructured time of it all, that's the beauty, again, of a kid being a good reset. Like, he has no agenda. He doesn't wake up on Tuesday like, all right, well, at 12 I got to do this, so I might as well do this. But there's none of that. There is that freewheeling, whatever happens, happens. And we lose that and try to apply structure on top of it to make it more. But I don't think that's how you get what you want out of it. I think letting go is the way you actually have room to grasp something again. That was a beautiful sentence until I fucked it up.
Do you want to redo for Instagram?
Sure.
I'm just going to leave both things.
Yeah. Basically, I think that letting go of the need to control, letting go of these things that you felt made you productive, made you this, letting go is the best opportunity you have to actually grasp something you care about more, and it's more aligned with where you actually want to be, not just where you feel led to need to be in this season.
Yeah. We do talk about that concept of open hand. And I think a lot of times it's so focused on the letting go, but it definitely, and I haven't thought about it being like, hey, if you don't have open hands, you can't hold on to anything else. So I like that a lot. Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh, you still
I'm
got
glad
it.
that actually happened eventually.
Well, I don't know about you. So, like with the 75 soft, I got to a couple of days ago, and then I was like, I don't think I actually want to do this. With the 12-week
Well,
year, I
to
think
be honest, though,
doing the
if
percentages
I'd actually
things,
done it with you, would that have helped?
no,
I mean, that's
'cause-
how we got through it last time. I think it was literally the fact that you were out in the garage working. I was like, okay, I'll do it.
sure, 75 soft. I got about 6 days into this one. And for context, if you are not familiar with 75 hard and 75
hard.
75 hard is 75 days in
You
a
didn't say it
row.
right. 75 hard.
75 hard. I can't do it. It's 75 days in a row. So if you mess up a day, which I won't say I was the most strict about this. I'm sure there's a couple of days where I'm sure there has to be a couple of days where I failed it. Or maybe not. I don't even remember. I kind of blocked it out. Where you do like 10 pages of nonfiction reading a day. You do 2 45-minute stints of exercise, which I was just like, if I'm walking the dog, I'm counting that.
One of them has to be outside.
And only one of them? Not both?
Yeah, just one.
The other thing was like follow a diet.
Follow a diet, no cheat days.
No alcohol.
No alcohol.
A certain amount of water each day.
8 gallon.
A gallon of water each day. So 75 soft is similar to that, but way toned down. It's like just 45 minutes a day, still doing the water, still following a food thing mostly, and alcohol and social.
You're just supposed to do it, but
occasions.
and there's still no cheat days.
The annoying
But you
thing
can do
for me, the
alcohol.
most annoying, is taking a progress picture every day. They won't let you continue unless you take a progress picture. I'm just like, whatever.
Yes.
I just put whatever picture of the things that I did that day. But for me,
They gave strict stipulations for what that picture's supposed to be.
I know. I'm not doing that.
Why not?
Because I don't care about that part. I think I prefer the 12-week year thing where it's like based on, trying to get more than over a certain percentage each week, as opposed to like doing the same thing every single day. Because every single day it doesn't leave as much space for that unstructure as I think I would like. It's harder for me to create that unstructured time.
Just because of the time it eats up.
Because of the time it eats up, and it just means there's less time to just be.
Well, why couldn't one of those 45-minute workouts be you have to be on your feet playing your instrument?
It's lame.
Yeah, it's lame, but also, would it be harder for you to spend 45 minutes actually practicing than it would be to go for a 45-minute walk?
Maybe.
Well, for me as a musician, I will gladly admit yes.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to actually practice for 45 minutes and not just fiddle along to a song I already know, that takes effort.
Yeah, but
So that's how I'd switch it up. And even if you didn't physically the transformation picture this, if you practice for 45 minutes every day for 75 days.
that's true.
So yeah,
I also
reuse that shit. Make it work for you.
I also just would prefer to do it as a 12-week year. I think having those check boxes each day for individual tasks, it feels better when I'm picking the tasks.
Well, I feel like, I guess my biggest qualm there, and again, it's up to you how you do it. I feel like you can make those two intimately entwined.
Sure.
And the 75 can fuel the 12-week.
And then I get to check off something twice.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have that synergy? And so that's why I'm a fan of those things. Like, if you, like I just said, if you actually practiced 45 minutes and rather than just sitting down in a chair, actually walked around the house and played violin
If I'm sure I'll pick
in
one.
75 days, where would you be?
Yeah.
Like, use it. Like, make the best of it.
Reframe it.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see if I do it again.
I mean, same thing with the artist way.
On the fence.
You have to read 10 minutes of a physical book. That book is designed to be read physically every day for however many weeks it goes, which I think is around 12.
The artist way is, I could just like
why
a
not
12-second
just layer all these things together? Check this
Just
box and check
optimize
3
your
more.
life.
Exactly. I think that's all that parenting is. If you are looking at your life and going, well, I have 12 tasks to take an hour each. Where can I fit in 12 1-hour slots? Not going to happen. But if you can go, well, can these 3 overlap? I'm a quarter of the way there before I even leave the house. Like, why not optimize it to make it the best situation possible?
just fix parenting.
Yeah, it is both really simple and the most complicated thing you'll ever do in your life.
Yeah.
It is literally both at the same time.
Yeah.
But you can literally take your child, pick them up off the ground, throw them in the air, and put them back down, and do that 12 times, and you just spend quality time with your kid and got your squats in. Like, if you're just willing to break the confines of what counts as whatever, you just did 12 squats and bound it with your kid and got your cortisol reduced. Like,
Getting another big pillow.
like yeah, it kind of is that simple if you're just willing to let go of, no, I was in a Pilates class, I'm doing hot yoga. Like, no, just do hot yoga at home in sweatpants with your kid as the weight. They literally get heavier the longer you lift them. I don't remember when I had that thought, but it was also kind of interesting. Like, oh yeah, all right, what's the smallest weight you have? 5 pounds, 2.5, I guess. But kids are usually born between 5 and 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And then they give you plenty of time to recover, figure out life, till they really start putting on pounds. And you have to lift them the whole time, so it's not like you skipped a day. Like, it literally gives you time to recover and then slowly starts to ramp up after that.
Yeah.
Like, it's built in. I'm not intelligent design at the moment. But if you had to look for some sign, you'd be like, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, kind of works.
Yeah, but that happens with every baby animal. Start out
Exactly.
small.
That's the point
It's
of the
'cause they
intelligent
can't.
design. It literally gives everyone a fair shot.
I don't think you could do it the other way.
What do you mean the other
Where
way?
they start out big. You can't Benjamin Button. That's not going to work no matter
Well,
what.
exactly. Who wants to Benjamin Button their fitness? I tried really hard and I tried less every day till I died.
I don't even know where to go from there.
Yeah, I feel like we're both having very different perceptions of this scenario.
It's going to be hard no matter what, but it's a lot easier if you do a lot of really hard work before you have a kid. And I guess that just applies to everything in life,
Pretty much.
which is so
I
annoying.
mean, I don't know what the quote was that you were thinking about when you said that, but I remember somewhere a similar idea of just like the method of your parenting doesn't matter. The person you are when you become a parent is the most important
No,
thing.
that is good.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if you shared that or I just read it somewhere else.
Maybe.
But yeah.
I
that
share a
was-
lot of great things.
That was that has been one of those. If it was you, thanks.
We're
It
Minecraft
started
parents.
in my psyche for a while that, like, again, I'm glad we didn't have kids 10 years ago.
Yeah, we weren't ready. We thought we were ready.
Oh, yeah.
Did we? I
Yeah.
think when we first got married,
We were
we were
certain.
like, oh yeah, we're
We
going
were
to be
certain.
such good parents.
We were chronically certain.
And then probably a few years in, we were like, no. And then,
And then there was the fear period where, like, we're mainly
It's
for
like,
my
oof.
side, I was like, am I going to be ready for this?
we're going to have kids.
Can I do this every day? Not just a week at a time, here and there? Every day? And then, waited long enough
Yeah.
and then let the universe decide.
And now we sit on the couch together and play Minecraft with our toddler. And he's going to just have amazing memories of that one day. I hope.
No specific memories.
Just a general good vibe.
Or he's going to get to 5 and be so good at Minecraft that people are like, this
As it
kid is
starts
a
to age out.
genius. Yeah.
I mean, then again, if there's ever a game that has staying power, Mario to this day.
Yeah.
But they had to reinvent it, do this, Mario Party. I feel like Minecraft
it's been reinvented
like,
many times.
has it been reinvented or just
Not
experimented? Like,
reinvented,
exactly.
but
Like the core was so good that they can just throw in this thing there. Oh, now you can do this.
Yeah.
We're just going to rearrange where diamonds are. Like it's such a.
Minecraft.
If
you want to be a sponsor of Patchwork Pod, please be in touch.
Yeah. We'll sign a 10-year deal. Unless you really change things.
We really like
plan.
Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And we started playing it probably when I was pregnant because we needed something to do together that didn't require a lot of thinking.
Yeah. It was.
And it didn't
late
require a
2020.
lot of.
I think we started just before you got pregnant. But yeah, late 2020 into 2021. And it was a great thing to continue doing.
Yeah. It just allowed us to like have an activity together that wasn't music. And because we are so project oriented in our relationship, we always need something to work towards. And it's a project that has very low stakes.
Well, okay. Now I'm curious, just in general. I've said it many times. I think we heard it in marriage counseling that there's generally 2 types of relationships.
If I had a bingo card,
one.
I would have put that on the bingo card.
The face-to-face one, and then
Cheek-to-cheek one?
the cheek-to-cheek relationship, and then
Which
like
cheek?
the shoulder-to-shoulder.
Oh.
Like you have a shared goal. And I only bring it up this time because I'm curious how you feel about it now at this point and everything. Do you wish you'd gone the cheek-to-cheek route?
Well, you can be cheek-to-cheek and shoulder-to-shoulder. If you're walking cheek-to-cheek, you're still both facing the same direction.
Doesn't feel like the most efficient way.
It's
yes,
not.
Technically, yeah,
It's not.
You could do that, yeah.
No, I think shoulder-to-shoulder has worked out for my own personal development. I don't know that I would be as self-assured as I am if we were face-to-face people. But I think, first of all, I just have to get it out of my head. In thinking cheek to cheek, I've just had, there's a cartoon illustration in my head of dancing cheek to cheek, but it's butt cheeks.
You've been around up. I've seen it.
It's just a funny idea to me. But I think we work best when we are shoulder to shoulder. But I think a lot of our relationship we spent inadvertently face to face because this is something else I was thinking about in therapy, talking about with my therapist of how one of the reasons I think we struggled was because we were both looking for a mirror in the other person, but what we wanted reflected back was different. So I was looking to you to validate me, my worth as a woman, as like, I wanted somebody to, because I was so externally focused, I needed somebody else to help me know that I was okay. And you wanted somebody to reflect back how creative and interesting you were.
I really wish you could word that differently, but it's also accurate.
I don't know how to say it differently. And I don't mean that as a negative thing.
Yeah, I know. It's just ironic.
Like,
if I may take a shot at reframing it.
Sure. That's your job.
It is, I needed someone to reassure me that I was providing something of worth. Because I'd have no confidence that just my presence means something. I need to know that me being there and doing this means something.
Yeah.
Like me showing up, that means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Even if it does to other people, I don't feel that. So that's what I needed. I needed you to, like, if it's a creative idea, an interesting whatever, help with this project, moving this thing from there to there, whatever it is, I wanted to know I did something that validated my confidence of stepping into that space.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we do our final questions? I kind of covered everything on my parking lot.
I guess if we wanted to belabor it, maybe
Belabor?
in the context of a new generation, I think both you and I have gone through parallel and yet significantly different processes of deconstruction and coming to grips with not just religion, but what religion made our parents, how religion influenced the way we were raised and what we were taught. And so I guess in the veins of that last question there, structurally, like just almost starting with a classic pros and cons list for the way you were raised versus what we're doing now. Not as an indictment on your parents. Not here to do that. They're great people.
You want me to make
I've met
pros and
them.
cons list?
Yeah. Well, just general thoughts of
now?
like, what are we taking forward? What are we deciding to leave in the past?
I was talking with a friend yesterday, Paige, about the homeschool spirit and how even like whether we decide to send them to public school or, you know, if I do go my way and can work full time and also homeschool a child, however we decide to do things,
I'm a tech magnet. We're good to go here.
we can. There's a certain spirit, I called it the homeschool spirit, that you can like foster in your child, and I think my parents did a good job of that. I've been thinking about parenting and what I'm thankful for my parents for doing. So first is the homeschool spirit, because I was a voracious reader growing up. Anything that I was like, this seems interesting to me, I'm gonna learn about it. And then that transferred to the computer later on. Not always great. I learned something that I probably was too young to learn about. But in general, I just have been a very curious person and ready to like learn about things, study things by myself. And I want to foster that.
Okay. So I know this
was
isn't
one.
all of it, but you mentioned the homeschool spirit a few times without explicitly defining it.
Yeah.
And so if I had to, based on what you said, though, it means a lot of self-motivated learning, a lot of reading, a lot of solid attention span,
the
a comfort
reading-
with being alone even.
Sure. The reading
Right.
as an avenue towards
Right.
that, like just having curiosity and the desire to learn outside of what you were given directly.
Yeah. So not being fed by a hose all day and then being
Right.
like, I just need to, Jesus,
Right.
I need my evening to just,
Yeah.
but more like, oh, I'm actually curious about this, this, and this.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And giving him the space to actually pursue those things, because I think with homeschooling, when you have individual attention and then you're able to kind of learn by yourself at your own pace, there is more space in the day to read more or learn more about whatever you're interested in.
The amount of
I
time
learned how to knit.
I feel bad for public school teachers. Let's say they walked into a classroom and they had 30 students and 25 of them, against all odds, were like, yes, whatever you want to say, I want to learn it. There's still 5 kids.
Yeah.
Like distracting everybody,
Yeah.
taking all that time up. And if
Shout out
if
to our
you-
public school teachers.
Yes,
My God.
absolutely.
Y'all are
All
doing
of
the
that,
most.
Plus, now half of them are sneaking in a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like the idea that you could just walk into a classroom and that kid's like, I want to read this book. I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
And you can go, oh, I can use this to teach math, science, geography. And a skilled teacher, much Montessori-esque,
Yeah.
who can actually just guide that kid rather than fight them and steer them.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. But
I'm on board.
there's a huge I'm reading a book called How to Raise an Adult. And one of the things that they talk about is like the author talked to a camp director, and this camp has a no cell phones policy, and they'll take all the cell phones away from kids on the bus. And a lot of times parents will send a burner phone with their kids to be confiscated so that they can stay in touch. And I'm like, people are actively enabling their children to be helpless. So I think having that sense of curiosity, that sense of independence, I think my parents fostered the sense of curiosity really well, or like how to find my own information. Maybe not so much the sense of independence. And so I think that's something I'd like to do differently. I definitely appreciate the more that research is coming out about like red food dyes and also like the benefits of having like food made from whole grains, where my mom used to, like, she had an electric grinder. She would buy these buckets of wheat berries and we would grind our flour and make bread. And it wasn't that great because she didn't take the time that I've been taking to learn about like ratios of different types of flour.
Don't have the resources.
She had the resources. She could have gone to the library and gotten a book about bread baking.
I tried to throw you a bone there, and she shot that down.
Sorry.
I tried to be empathetic,
That was nice.
see what the situation was.
My mom.
I know your struggle, and I see you. And even if she won't, I see you.
My mom is so practical that I think she was just like, this bread is fuel. And she made delicious bread on the weekends for a Sunday dinner. She would make the white bread with all-purpose flour. But the wheat bread was just so dense because...
Coming from the guy who ate 2 raw eggs for breakfast throughout half of college because it was cheaper and more efficient.
You were my mom.
Yeah. That's why I empathize.
It's so funny which ways we are like each other's parents.
Food is a means to an end.
Yeah.
Fight me. I'm on that.
And I really have enjoyed my bread journey of learning.
And I'm going to enjoy those steaks over there in a second.
Well, sure.
But this is some weekend stuff.
So,
Throughout the week, you do what you got to do.
I appreciate that my mom was like very, very attentive about the types of food that we were eating.
What are you
She
licking?
licking the ash? Tyler, don't eat.
There's nothing edible over there.
Don't
It's
eat
literally
sticks. She wants
been burned.
pieces of sticks. I appreciate how my mom was really attentive about what we were eating, because now there's so much coming out about what's in our food and the adverse reaction, right? And so while I don't think I'm as hardcore as she was about some of that stuff, I do appreciate having that attitude. And so like I've started making my own yogurt, and I love making bread, and in my brain I'm like ready to start a homestead. I don't know how this plays into our life of traveling for 6 months at a time. Who's going to come take care of our farm? But I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to get chickens. I'm ready to have goats. I'm ready for all of this.
All right. I hope Hickory's great. We'll be stuck there for a while.
It'll be an artist farm. So, you know, we'll have spaces.
Yeah, artists were known for their discipline.
It's going to be great. Anything else? Okay, I know that there are more things, but that's what I'm going to go with
kept waiting around because there were, at least you had closing questions that you asked every episode.
Yeah, were you going to say things, pros and cons? You asked them.
No.
You asked me the question.
Yeah, I asked you.
You don't. Do you have things that you would like to say about that?
No.
Oh,
I'm good. I mean, I always have thoughts, but it was more
you were
share the mic.
you were trying to host me. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do have my
this
final
episode
two
felt
questions.
different. Yeah. And the historic, history.
Have you
of the
listened to all
podcast.
my episodes?
No.
Okay, I will.
Besides what I heard through the walls.
Sure. I do have my 2 or 3. I don't know. We can answer 3 final questions. What is your hottest take?
My hottest take. All right. Not that it's completely fresh and crazy and all that, but I think give it 5 years, people are going to start going, you know what? Those people on the spectrum, they got some great ideas.
I think it's already happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's not, again, not the freshest take or whatever, but I think there's going to be a moment where people go, we really need those people on the spectrum because they are seeing things from a different perspective. And for us to move forward, we need those weirdos. Said with affection.
What is something you had to unlearn recently?
I had to unlearn my previous idea that growth just happens. Growth, change, evolution, it's natural. It just happens. And actually, no. Like, you have to choose, even when you put yourself in a new situation where you should have the opportunity to grow and change, like, it's not, you can just as easily reinforce old patterns, reestablish similar connections to previous lives. You can repeat. You can get caught in that cycle. But growth takes so much more effort. And that's something I have to continually keep teaching myself, that moving to North Carolina isn't going to suddenly make us better people. It is the best option we have for that possibility.
Yeah.
Definitely not a promise, not a guarantee. And I think we've done enough shuffling of our lives and our jobs and the people around us and all that to realize that it can mean that, but 'tis not guaranteed. Was that funny enough to be a closer?
No, because the closer is, what's something that made you really happy this week?
Something made me happy this week.
I didn't want to straight up steal P. Holmes's laughter question.
No fake laughter here.
Well,
Only
more
real.
to what's something that made you laugh really hard is the question, but I don't want to steal that one.
Something that
You're
brought me
welcome, P.
joy.
Holmes.
Yes. I mean, it'd be fun to be in this podcast. Gotta be lately. Anyway.
Be present. You're on this podcast right now.
But I want to dream.
You can dream.
One more time. Lost my train of thought there.
What is something that made you really happy in this past week or month?
Really happy this past week. Well, I'll give you two options again. One is obviously the kid over there. Like, we're in that phase where there's progress and there's leaps. And I feel like I'm walking into a lot of leaps and going, what? When did all the building blocks to make this happen? Like, okay, this is where we're at. That's dope. So that's definitely a recurring source of joy and motivation and focus. And on the other side, I'm sorry for the legal ramifications of this, but there was a lab leak of Eminem's hidden tracks for the past 15 years. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. It goes back. I don't know when this is coming out, but if you're an Eminem fan, hop online, download it before they take it away. It's so good.
It's so good. It's how good?
Very good. Exorbitantly good. Extravagantly good. Meticulously good.
How?
I got vocab.
You're a thesaurus.
What?
A thesaurus?
That was the most Arkansas way to pronounce that. So yeah, if either of those works, I can try a third.
I'm
if
going
you'd
to
like.
use them all.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a minimally edited podcast.
Oh, great.
I'll take out the
Great.
worst stuff. I feel good. Do you feel good?
Just in general. I haven't listened to the rest of them, so I don't know how you usually land that plane.
I usually
I haven't
kind
felt that moment of
fade it out at the
that
end.
was it.
Oh, well, I'm still going to talk about the song one more time. I'm just going to... We have a song. That's it. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
We have a song.
Thank you for listening to this episode today. If you have heard the other episodes, you know that this is a very self-indulgent podcast. Just getting to sit and chat with my husband about our lives and the things that we are working on is pretty cool. And we do have a song coming out, I think, at the end of the month. We haven't actually set a release date for it because I guess we have to make it where we're getting the. Just follow The Last City on Instagram and Facebook and on Patreon.
Wait, is it The Last City?
At The Last City.
Oh, cool.
And on Patreon, because that is where we like to post behind the scenes stuff and little updates. And Patreon, if you like that kind of thing, you can follow us on Patreon without giving us money, or you can give us like $1 a month and be able to get more access to exclusive behind the scenes content. But Oil and Water is coming out. I'm going to start posting sneak previews, or not sneak, little previews of the song in the next couple of weeks here, so you can hear what it sounds like. And we're really proud of it. So I hope everybody just takes some time to listen to it. Follow The Last City on Spotify. We've got more music on there. We're just ready to be in your ears and in your life. Thank you for listening. And subscribe, like, follow. We'll see you or talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening.
This isn't your podcast.
That's the best sign off I have for our live shows.